Court of Appeal jails 13 activists who stormed the LegCo building back in 2014.
This is just the beginning. I want to tell you that. This is just the beginning.
And Donald Trump authorizes an inquiry into whether to investigate China's alleged theft of intellectual property.
Good evening. Democratic Party member Howard Lam remains in custody after being arrested early today for misleading police over his abduction claim. Caleb Leung has more.
Howard Lam was detained at Hong Kong Police Station overnight. He was taken to Kowloon West Regional Police Headquarters 12 hours later for an examination of his injuries. At a press conference last Friday, Lam said he was abducted on the day before. He said the incident happened after he left a sports apparel store on Portland Street in Mong Kok. He claimed he was walking to the Yau Ma Tei MTR station. Meanwhile, Factwire news agency managed to obtain security camera footage taken from various locations in the area. One video shows Lam leaving a sports apparel store at around 5:30 p.m. last Thursday. That was around an hour later than the time Lam claimed he was abducted. Lam was seen wearing a black shirt, dark blue shorts, and black sports shoes. Around 2 minutes later, another camera caught a person whose clothing resembled Lam's walking towards Pitt Street. However, the man was wearing a cap and a face mask. The person crossed the street, then walked back along Portland Street to Hamilton Street before turning right towards Nathan Road. The man was never approached by anyone during his 3-minute walk in that area. New footage obtained by TVB shows the same person was at a back alley between Dundas Street and Hamilton Street around 10 minutes later. According to sources, police have evidence that Lam went to a fast food outlet on Nathan Road after leaving Hamilton Street. He then crossed Nathan Road and walked to Dundas Street and took a minibus to Sai Kung at around 6 p.m. The police are now trying to confirm whether Lam had walked to the beach in Sai Kung. Lam had previously said he ended up at a beach in Sai Kung after being abducted. Before he was arrested early today, Lam has denied he was the man shown in the footage, claiming that he didn't wear a cap or a face mask at the time. He also said he wasn't sure about the time when he was abducted. The police arrested Lam in Tai Kok Tsui at 12:30 a.m. The police says there are no evidence showing he was bundled into a van, as Lam previously claimed. Officers suspect that Lam gave them false information. Meanwhile, Democratic Party Chairman Hu Chi-wai said the press conference held last Friday was intended to protect Lam's safety.
Our starting point is to safeguard everybody's personal securities has to be safeguarded in Hong Kong. So that is our fundamental thought concerning about the press conference.
The security chief asked the public to trust the police in their work.
At this stage, I think we should give time to police so that they could conduct fair and thorough investigation.
Caleb Leung, TVB News.
13 activists who stormed the Legislative Council building back in 2014 were today given jail terms ranging from 8 to 13 months. This comes after the Court of Appeal reviewed their sentences previously handed down by a magistrate. They were originally ordered to perform community service. As Elmi Leung reports, some of them are planning to appeal.
Before entering the court building today, some defendants demanded that the government withdraw its Northeast New Territories development plan. Opposition to that plan prompted them to force their way into the Legislative Council building with bamboo sticks in 2014. Lawmakers were meeting to discuss funding approval for the project back then. All 13 defendants had completed between 80 and 150 hours of community service after being found guilty of unlawful assembly. In reviewing the government's call for harsher penalties, Justice Wally Yeung noted the court is not against the defendants' rights of expression, but violence displayed when exercising those rights. 3 defendants gave their submissions today after all but one of the rest did so yesterday. Both Chow Kut-yin and Chu Wai-chung did not regret their actions, but Chu was sorry that a security guard was injured in the process. Chan Pak-shan said the goal was to charge into the building, which did not involve police hatred. The judge said it is not the court's wish to put young people with aspirations in jail, but the penalties should carry a deterrent effect to maintain public order. With 15 months in prison as the starting point for unlawful assembly, one defendant who pleaded guilty received an 8-month jail term. The rest 13 months behind bars, including Chiu Hin-chung, who faces an arrest warrant for skipping the court hearing, and Raphael Wong, vice chairman of the League of Social Democrats. His fellow party member feels the penalties are heavy.
If the DOJ asks for a review, it's more suitable, since there will be no cross-examination for the defendant to defend themselves. Only the judge watch the video. I think it's totally wrong.
As activists plan to appeal to the city's top court, their supporters, including villages affected by the development plan, are organising petitions against today's sentences. Elmi Long, TVB News.
Now to some transport information. A signalling fault has resulted in trains on the Tung Chung line running from Kowloon Station to Hong Kong Station, plus airport express trains from Kowloon Station to Hong Kong Station operating at a slower speed. The signalling fault is near Hong Kong Station. Passengers are reminded that the total journey time will be extended by 10 to 15 minutes on the Tung Chung line between Hong Kong Station and Tung Chung Station. The journey time on the Airport Express between Hong Kong Station and Asia World Expo will also be extended by 10 to 15 minutes.
China has vowed to defend its interests as the United States begins a probe into Chinese trade practices. Last night, US President Donald Trump authorized an inquiry into China's alleged theft of intellectual property, which officials say could have cost America hundreds of billions of dollars. As it pressures China over North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, the United States is also pressing Beijing on trade. Last night, US President Donald Trump said enough was enough and authorized an inquiry into China's alleged theft of intellectual property.
Washington will turn a blind eye no longer. Today, I'm directing the United States Trade Representative to examine China's policies, practices, and actions with regard to the forced transfers of American technology and the theft of American intellectual property.
Trump told US trade officials to look into whether to launch a formal investigation into claims Beijing improperly requires foreign companies to hand over technology in exchange for access to the China market. There's no deadline for deciding if any investigation is necessary. Such an investigation easily could last a year. More than 20% of 100 American companies that responded to a survey by the US-China Business Council said they were asked to transfer technology within the past 3 years as a condition of market access. Beijing hit back at the claims today, criticizing the decision as a violation of global rules, saying it will resolutely safeguard Chinese interests. Trade groups for technology companies welcome Trump's order, but China's Commerce Ministry says it violates the spirit of international trade and Washington's World Trade Organization commitments. It added the move could damage Sino-US relations. The ministry says Beijing will take all appropriate measures if Chinese companies are hurt, but gave no details. Meanwhile, North Korea has reportedly delayed a decision on firing missiles towards the US Pacific territory of Guam, while it waits to see what the United States does next. Signs of an easing intention on the Korean peninsula come as South Korea's president said Seoul will seek to prevent war by all means. James Aiken reports.
New pictures from North Korea show leader Kim Jong-un inspecting an army command center. State media said Kim was examining a plan to fire 4 missiles to land near Guam. But the report said Kim has delayed a decision on firing missiles while he watches U.S. actions a little longer, adding he will give the order to fire if the U.S. continues its extremely dangerous actions on the Korean peninsula. In Guam today, a collective sigh of relief over signs of a willingness to avoid a deepening crisis.
photographs, they tell 1,000 words, right? So we'll leave it to Kim Jong-un to explain any actions that he takes, but we're happy that the rhetoric is starting to calm down, perhaps, from Kim Jong-un. I'm reading between the lines that I don't see an imminent threat.
Pyongyang's announcement that it was drafting plans to fire missiles near Guam prompted a surge in tensions in the region last week, with U.S. President Donald Trump saying the U.S. military was locked and loaded if North Korea acted unwisely. U.S. officials have in recent days played down the risk of an imminent conflict while stressing their preparedness to respond militarily to any attack from North Korea. The apparent pause in tensions comes even as the U.S. and South Korea prepare for more joint military drills. South Korean President Moon Jae-in said there would be no military action without Seoul's consent, and his government will prevent war by all means. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who spoke with Trump by phone today, praised Washington's commitment to stand with allies in the region. Japan will be seeking further reassurance from Washington in meetings between Japan's defense chief and foreign minister and their U.S. counterparts on Thursday. James Aiken, TVB News.
China and South Korea have called on Japan to face up to its wartime past. It comes after Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe sent an offering to a controversial shrine for Japan's war dead today on the anniversary of the country's World War II surrender. The lawmaker who made the offering on Abe's behalf said he did so to express condolences for those who died in the war and to pray for peace. Past visits by Japanese leaders to the Yasukuni Shrine have outraged Beijing and Seoul because it honors 14 Japanese leaders convicted as war criminals, along with other war dead.
To the aftermath now of that white nationalist rally that turned deadly in Virginia last weekend. U.S. President Donald Trump bowed to mounting pressure and publicly denounced all hate groups by name. This comes as rally organizers blame police for not keeping the peace. Sonia Artero reports.
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans.
Right after singling out each hate group, Trump criticized one media for demanding to know why he didn't name and shame sooner.
Mr. President, can you explain why you did not condemn those hate groups by name over the weekend?
They've been condemned. But, I like real news, not fake news. You're fake news.
Near the scene of the deadly car ramming in Charlottesville, the alleged driver was criminally charged in court. James Alex Fields now faces second-degree murder, malicious wounding, and hit-and-run charges.
For this event.
Outside the courthouse, two white nationalists expressed anger. The police allowed counter-protesters to attack their court-approved Unite the Right rally.
Well, they brought sticks and they brought knives. The nationalist community defended ourselves against thugs in a battle that was brought by this city that wanted a bloodbath.
Charlottesville police did admit they were ill-equipped to handle the chaos, and protesters from both sides were to blame.
But it was a challenge. It was certainly a challenge. We were spread thin once the groups dispersed. We did have mutually combative individuals in the crowd.
Mourning the aftermath more than anyone is mother of Heather Hayer, the victim who died in the crash.
Heather is my darling child, who was taken from me, and I miss her very much.
Still, the wave of anger in Virginia inspired an anti-racism rally in North Carolina. No KKK, no fascist USA! Angry protesters took it upon themselves to topple a statue of a Confederate soldier. Sonia Artero, TVB News.
And still ahead on the news tonight, over half of shampoo samples tested by Consumer Council found to contain allergy-causing chemicals.
Welcome back. The Consumer Council has found that more than 50% of shampoos on the market contain chemicals which might be a problem for those with skin allergies. Meanwhile, complaints about online hotel bookings are on the rise as consumers get stuck over the fine print. Rachel Leung has more.
The Consumer Council tested 60 shampoos, and among them, 38 contain a substance called 1,4-dioxane, an ether used as a solvent in manufacturing. 7 shampoos had levels of 1,4-dioxane, which were 1.4 times above the European Union's recommended safety standard for cosmetics. Meanwhile, 12 were found with allergy-causing chemicals usually used as a preservative. Even so, the watchdog stressed the products are still very safe to use. It's those with skin allergies that may need to pay more attention.
1,4-dioxane. The major problem is the irritation to your eyes and also your respiratory systems. Possible reaction to the skins if you are more sensitive, to these kind of ingredients, could irritate your skin. You will find it itching, rashes. Fragrance, can also cause allergy to some people. Consumers have to be really alert about their the skin condition and also what kind of ingredients that they would be allergic to, and also choose the right product for them.
Consumers are advised to pick a shampoo that best suits the condition of their scalp, skin, and hair type. Also, take the time to read the ingredients listed on the label before buying. Meanwhile, since the beginning of the year, the Council received more than 100 complaints related to online hotel bookings. Many of the disputes involve exchange rates, coordination problems with local agents, leaving travelers unable to check into their rooms. The Council reminded consumers to carefully read the terms and conditions on these booking websites, especially when it comes to limitations of cancellation or changes of bookings. Rachel Leung, TVB News.
Turning overseas again, mudslides and torrential flooding have killed more than 300 people in and around Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown, following heavy rain. Officials say many victims were buried alive in their homes as they slept. Communications and power supply have also been affected. Freetown's drainage channels are often clogged because of garbage dumping due to insufficient sanitation services in many areas. Freetown is also plagued by deforestation and the unregulated building of houses in hilltop areas, making flooding and mudslides worse.